I want to ask you a simple question. Why do most people set goals, but never actually reach them? We write them down at the beginning of the year, we put them on vision boards, we download apps, we track habits, we read productivity books. But by February, the gym is empty, the journal is dusty, and the dream has faded. It's not because we're lazy, it's not because we don't care. It's because we were never taught how to set real goals, goals that mean something, goals that last, goals that change who we are. So today, let's talk about how to set goals that actually change your life. Goals rooted in meaning, designed for growth, and built to last. Let me tell you something we don't hear enough. Most of us are chasing goals that aren't actually ours. We set goals based on what sounds good, what looks good, what gets applause. We aim for numbers, titles, and milestones because we've been told that's what success looks like. Lose 20 pounds, earn 6 figures, run a marathon. These are the goals we write down in journals, put on vision boards, and tell our friends about. They sound powerful, they're easy to measure, but here's the problem. They're also easy to abandon. And the reason isn't because we're lazy or undisciplined. It's because they're rooted in outcomes, not identity. You see, when a goal is just an outcome, it becomes something you chase, not something you embody. And anything you chase always feels just a little out of reach. When the road gets hard, and it always gets hard, an outcome goal offers nothing to hold on to. That's when excuses creep in. That's when the snooze button wins. That's when you say, maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe this just isn't for me. But when you start with identity, everything changes. Identity gives you something deeper than motivation. It gives you alignment. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, ask yourself, who am I becoming? Are you becoming someone who respects their body? Someone who chooses nourishment over numbing? Someone who moves, not to punish themselves, but to express life? There's a man I know, mid-40s, always struggled with weight. Every year, same resolution, lose 30 pounds. He'd start strong, gym membership, protein shakes, calorie tracker. But by March, burned out, frustrated, back to square one. 1 year, something shifted. His father passed away from a heart attack, only 62. That loss hit him hard, but instead of chasing another outcome, he made a decision. I'm not just losing weight. I'm becoming the kind of man who lives long enough to watch his kids grow up. That wasn't a number. That was an identity. And when his alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., he didn't get out of bed because he was motivated. He got out of bed because he was a father who keeps his promise. Identity creates crinitis. Because once you see yourself a certain way, your actions naturally begin to match. You don't have to force it. If you identify as a runner, you run. If you identify as a writer, you write. Not every day perfectly, but consistently, because that's who you are. And here's what's beautiful about this shift. Identity-based goals are sustainable, even when life gets messy. A job loss doesn't take away your identity. A bad week doesn't make you question your worth. When your goal is rooted in who you are becoming, the process becomes the reward. Every meal you prepare, every walk you take, every choice you make, those aren't just tasks, they're statements. You're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. Behavioral science backs this up. Studies have shown that the most successful behavior change isn't about setting massive goals. It's about small, consistent habits tied to a sense of self. James Clear writes about it this way. Every action you take is a vote for the person you believe yourself to be. So if you want to become a confident speaker, you start by saying yes to the small presentations. If you want to be a more present parent, you start by putting the phone down during dinner. It's not about the big win. It's about showing up in alignment with who you're becoming. When goals start from identity, they stop feeling like pressure and start feeling like purpose. You're not dragging yourself towards something. You're growing into someone. And that changes everything. Everywhere we turn, we're flooded with images of what success is supposed to look like. It's curated, filtered, and presented in perfect squares on screens we scroll through for hours a day. In that kind of world, it's dangerously easy to start setting goals based not on what we deeply want, but on what we think will impress others. We start reaching for things because they're shiny, not because they're meaningful. And when a goal is built on image instead of intention, it becomes empty, hollow. And when the excitement wears off, and it always does, there's nothing underneath to keep you going. Think about how many times you've said something like, I should start a business, or I should get a promotion, or I should read more books. Those are goals we often say out loud, because they sound admirable, ambitious, respectable. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, do you actually want that? Or do you just want what it represents? The freedom, the status, the applause. There's a massive difference between wanting to start a business because you feel called to solve a real problem, something that keeps you up at night, and wanting to start one because you think that's what successful people do. One is driven by purpose, the other is driven by performance. One will keep you grounded through failure and setbacks. The other will have you walking away the second it stops looking impressive. I remember speaking with a woman who said her dream was to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Naturally, I asked why. It just seems like something someone successful would do. That stuck with me not because she was wrong, but because it was such an honest reflection of where so many of us are. We're chasing other people's dreams, other people's goals, other people's definitions of, and then we wonder why we feel unfulfilled when we reach them. When a goal is performative, you'll constantly need external validation to keep going. You'll measure progress by likes, by applause, by approval, and as soon as those things disappear, your motivation evaporates. But when a goal is personal, deeply personal, it becomes self-sustaining. You don't need anyone else to see it or celebrate it. You just need to feel it. A real goal comes from a place of honesty. It comes from a moment in your life that marked you, a failure you never want to repeat, a moment of pain you turned into purpose, a whisper inside you that you've ignored for too long. Maybe it's the memory of your parents working double shifts so you could go to college. Maybe it's the book you needed when you were younger and never found, so now you're determined to write it. Maybe it's the fact that you felt invisible growing up, and now you want to build something that makes others feel seen. These aren't flashy goals, they're not always tweetable or photogenic, but they're real, they matter, they stay with you, and they will carry you through the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. Because let's be honest, every meaningful goal will face resistance. There will be obstacles, doubts, slow days, and seasons where nothing goes according to plan. In those moments, only something personal will keep you standing. The truth is, your most powerful goals won't come from a list of what you should do. They'll come from your own lived experience, from what breaks your heart, from what lights you up, from what refuses to let you go. If your goal doesn't make your heart beat faster, if it doesn't tug at you even when no one's watching, then it might not be your goal. It might just be the world's expectations in disguise. And you deserve better than that. You deserve something real. We all love the feeling of a fresh start, a new year, a clean notebook, an empty calendar. We rush to fill them with goals, intentions, and plans. We convince ourselves that if we just find the right tactic, the right app, the right routine, everything will fall into place. But somewhere along the way, usually when life gets messy or inconvenient, we drift. We slow down, we fall off, and we blame it on discipline, on time, on motivation. But often it's not about any of those things. It's about something far deeper. We never anchored our goal to a meaningful why. There's a reason we stick with some things and abandon others. It's not about how smart our goals are, how measurable or specific. It's not even about how badly we think we want them. The staying power of any goal, whether it's about your health, your career, or your relationships, comes down to one thing: the reason behind it. The deeper the reason, the greater the resilience. The more emotionally rooted your why is, the more likely you are to keep going when everything around you says stop. In 2009, researchers studied two groups of people trying to quit smoking. One group focused on strategy. They used nicotine patches, set quit dates, followed plans. The other group started with a single, emotional question: why do I want to stop? Their answers weren't about stats or science. They were human, heartfelt. I want to live long enough to walk my daughter down the aisle. I want to be the kind of dad who keeps his promise. I want to take my grandson fishing without needing an oxygen tank. The difference in success between the groups was undeniable. One had tools, the other had purpose. That's what most of us are missing. We're trying to power through big goals with small reasons. We say we want to get healthy, but we don't know why. We say we want to build a business, but we haven't asked ourselves what's truly driving it. So the moment it gets tough, and it will get tough, we're left without a reason to push forward. I met a man once who had tried to write a book for 10 years. Every January it was on his resolution list. Every year he gave up by spring. One day I asked him, "Why do you want to write this book?" He looked down for a moment and said, "When I was 14, my brother, he was the only one who really understood me. I've never told anyone that story. I guess, I want this book to be something he would be proud of. Like I'm telling our story so it doesn't disappear." That was his why. And once he connected to it, he didn't need discipline, he needed direction. That book is now published. And more importantly, it carries something bigger than words on a page. It carries his heart. When your goal has no why, it becomes a task, a checklist, a burden. But when it has a why, it becomes something sacred. It becomes a promise to yourself and to the people who matter most. It becomes a commitment to a better version of you, one that's worth fighting for. So before you chase your next goal, stop. Ask yourself why it matters. Not the polished answer, not the one that sounds good. Go deep. If you keep asking why enough times, eventually you'll land on something that makes your chest tighten and your eyes sting. That's the place you build from. Because when the road gets long and the obstacles show up, and they always do, it's that reason, that emotional anchor, that keeps you moving forward, not perfectly, but relentlessly. There's a reason we remember stories from childhood more vividly than facts from a textbook. There's a reason a single photo can stir 1,000 emotions, while a spreadsheet filled with numbers feels lifeless. It's because we're wired for emotion, we're wired for meaning, not metrics. When it comes to setting goals that truly change our lives, data and logic alone won't move us. If your goal doesn't stir something deep inside you, it won't carry you through the discomfort of change. It might make sense, it might even be responsible, but if it doesn't feel real, it won't last. A man once told me his goal was to get out of debt. It was clear, measurable, but it was also cold. Get out of debt is a statement that lives in your head, not your heart. It sounds like a financial objective, not a personal mission. So I asked him, what would that really mean to you? He paused, took a breath, and said quietly, "It would mean I could finally look my son in the eye and tell him he's going to college. No loans, no burden, just a chance at a better life." His voice cracked when he said it. That was the moment the goal shifted, from numbers to meaning, from pressure to purpose. That's the difference emotion makes. When your goal has a face, a story, a heartbeat, it becomes real. It becomes more than something you should do. It becomes something you must do. That kind of goal doesn't just sit on a to-do list. It wakes you up in the morning. It keeps you moving when it gets hard. Because now you're not chasing money, or weight loss, or a promotion. You're fighting for something personal, something visual, something you can picture down to the smallest detail. If your goal is to get healthier, don't stop at lose 50. Go deeper. What does that look like in your life? Is it the moment you dance at your daughter's wedding, without worrying about your knees giving out? Is it the morning you wake up without pain for the first time in years, and feel strong enough to play soccer with your son? Let that image guide you. Let it live in your mind, like a movie you replay when your motivation fades. The same goes for your career. Don't just say, "I want to be promoted." Ask yourself, what does that really give me? Maybe it's not the title. Maybe it's the ability to finally move your family out of a neighborhood that never felt safe. Maybe it's the power to lead a team differently than you were led, more humanely, more compassionately. That vision will matter when you're staring at another late night or wrestling with self-doubt. Visualizing a goal means building a mental image so clear, so detailed, that your brain begins to believe it's already possible. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that the brain processes vivid mental imagery almost the same way it processes actual experience. When you feel the emotion tied to a goal, when you see it in your mind and connect it to your heart, you're not just thinking about the future, you're rehearsing it. You're preparing your body, your habits, your decisions to meet that reality. So don't just write down your goal. Don't reduce them to numbers and deadlines. Feel them, picture them, close your eyes, and imagine the look on your mother's face when you finally open that business you've been dreaming about. Hear your own voice reading your published book at a school assembly. Smell the ocean air the day you buy that ticket for the trip you've put off for years. That's what makes a goal come alive. When it's emotional and visual, your goal stops being a task. It becomes a vision, and vision is what pulls us forward when willpower runs dry.
Vision is what makes the hard days worth it. Vision is what turns a distant hope into an inevitable reality. We all love to start with big dreams. We say things like, "This year I'm gonna finally get in shape," or "I'm gonna launch my business," or "I'm gonna write that book." And in that moment of declaring it, it feels powerful. We feel alive with possibility. But here's the hard truth. Motivation, the spark that gets you started, doesn't last. It's emotional, it's unpredictable, and it vanishes the moment life gets inconvenient. One missed workout, one rough day at work, one unexpected emergency, and just like that, the spark fizzles. Not because the goal didn't matter, but because there wasn't a system in place to support it when your energy ran out. Most people think discipline means waking up every morning and muscling your way through. They think it means being stronger, tougher, more committed than the rest. But discipline isn't about willpower. It's about structure. It's about building a system so solid that you don't have to think about whether or not you'll follow through. You just do. Because it's part of your life now. It's part of who you are. There was a study published in the British Journal of Health Psychology that looked at people who wanted to start exercising. One group relied on motivation and good intentions. They said things like, "I'll work out when I have time." Another group made a clear plan. They decided exactly where, when, and how they would exercise. The result, only 35% of the first group stuck with it, but 91% of the people who had a plan followed through. Not because they were more motivated, but because they had a system. That's the difference between dreaming and doing. Let's say your goal is to write a book. Don't just tell yourself, "I need to write." That's a step, not a system. A system is saying, "Every morning from 6:30 to 7 hours, I will write 300 words before I check my phone." That one sentence builds structure into your day. And when you show up to write at the same time, in the same place, with the same intention, you begin to build momentum. You no longer wait to feel inspired. You rely on rhythm, on habit, on consistency. Systems protect your goal from the chaos of life, because life will get chaotic. There will be mornings you wake up tired, days when work drains you, nights when doubt creeps in. But if you've built a system, if your daily actions are automatic, you don't need to rely on how you feel in the moment. You just show up and do the thing. Think of systems as scaffolding. They hold your goal up when everything else around it gets shaky. They support your ambition with routines. They take something big and make it manageable. And here's the key. Systems aren't glamorous. They're not Instagrammable. They live in the quiet places on the floor of your living room, where you stretch for 10 minutes each night, at the kitchen table before sunrise, when you write in your journal, during your lunch break, when you shut the door and work on your side project for half an hour. That's where transformation happens. Not in the loud dramatic declarations, but in the small invisible acts you repeat, over and over, until they become part of you. If your dream feels too big, it's not because it's impossible, it's because it's unstructured. Take that big, overwhelming goal, and break it down until it becomes a routine, until it fits into your life like brushing your teeth, or making your bed, and then keep showing up, day after day, not perfectly, but consistently. That's how real change happens, one system at a time. Progress is powerful. It fuels us, keeps us focused, and shows us that we're moving in the right direction. But how we define and measure that progress matters just as much, maybe even more than the progress itself. Because when we only measure the obvious things, the surface level things, we risk missing the deeper story. We risk missing the growth that actually changes us. And when that happens, it becomes far too easy to believe we're failing, even when we're becoming someone new. Think about the goals we usually set. We say we want to lose weight, so we obsess over the number on the scale. But weight is just one part of the picture. It doesn't tell you how much stronger you feel, how much better you sleep, how your mood has lifted, or how your confidence has returned. You might be showing up for yourself in new, courageous ways, and yet feel like you're not doing enough, because the scale didn't move. That's not failure. That's just the wrong measure. Or maybe your goal is financial. You want to earn more money, hit a certain number in your bank account. That's a reasonable target, but it's not the whole story. Money is a tool, not a purpose. Are you able to spend more time with your family? Are you able to give generously, sleep peacefully, build something meaningful? Those are the things that often matter most, yet we rarely write them down or celebrate them. And because of that, we rob ourselves of joy. We rob ourselves of the recognition we deserve for progress that doesn't fit neatly into a chart. Real growth isn't always visible at first glance. It's subtle, quiet. Sometimes it looks like making a different choice when no one's watching. Sometimes it feels like waking up with a little more hope than you had the day before. That kind of progress deserves to be seen. It deserves to be counted. But even as we track the right things, we have to remember this. We are human. We will mess up. We will have days where nothing goes according to plan. We'll miss a workout, snap at someone we love, break a promise to ourselves. That doesn't mean we failed. That means we're growing. And growth isn't a straight line. It's full of detours and setbacks and moments where we wonder if we're even moving forward at all. Too many people quit because they miss a day. They eat the wrong thing. They skip a routine. They break a streak on some app, and suddenly all their progress feels lost. So they throw it all away. But a stumble isn't the end. It's part of the journey. If you hold yourself to the impossible standard of perfection, you will always feel behind, always feel not enough. And that mindset kills more dreams than failure ever will. What you need instead is grace. Grace is what allows you to mess up and still move forward. Grace says, I may have fallen, but I am not starting from zero. Grace honors the progress that's been made. Grace lets you be proud of your best days without being ashamed of your worst. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to transform. You're here to become more of who you are meant to be. And transformation takes time. It takes patience. It takes showing up again and again, even when the path gets hard, even when you can't see the finish line. What matters is that you come back, that you stay in the game, that you measure what matters, and that you give yourself the space to become something better, not just something polished. Because at the end of the day, real growth isn't found in perfection. It's found in the grace to keep going. We spend so much time trying to get there, that place we've imagined where everything finally clicks, where we're fit, successful, loved, whole. We imagine our lives as destination achievements to be unlocked, milestones to be conquered. But the truth is, life isn't a finish line you cross one day with arms raised in victory. It's a direction, a path, a series of choices, habits, and moments that slowly, almost imperceptibly, shape who you are becoming. The most powerful goals you can set don't start with what you want to have. They start with who you want to be. And that's a very different question. When you ask yourself, who am I becoming? It shifts everything. It's no longer about losing weight. It's about becoming someone who cares for their body. It's no longer about getting rich. It's about becoming someone who lives with freedom and generosity. It's no longer about being perfect. It's about becoming someone who shows up, even after falling. And once you know who you want to become, you tie that vision to what truly matters. Not what looks good on a resume, not what gets applause at parties, but what tugs at your heart when no one's watching. What makes you feel more alive, more connected, more. When your goals are personal, when they're rooted in values and anchored in truth, they hold up under pressure. They don't collapse the moment life throws a curveball. They endure. But even a clear purpose isn't enough without structure. That's where systems come. Because no matter how inspired you are, you're still human. You'll have days when you're tired, distracted, discouraged. Systems catch you when motivation slips. They turn your intentions into action. They take a dream that feels too big to hold and break it into routines you can live out every day. Not flashy, not dramatic, just quiet, steady commitment. And to keep going, you need more than discipline. You need vision. You need to see it, feel it, taste it. You need to close your eyes and picture your child watching you with pride. You need to imagine walking into that room with confidence. You need to feel the warmth of peace after years of hustle. Because when your brain sees it, your heart starts to believe it. And when your heart believes, your feet follow. But even with a deep why, a clear identity, and a solid system, there will be missteps, always. And that's where grace matters more than grit. It's the reminder that growth is not linear. That missing a day doesn't mean you've failed. That slipping up doesn't erase how far you've come. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to come back, over and over again. That's how transformation works. Not in the dramatic moments, but in the quiet returns. So how do you set real goals that change your life? You stop chasing destinations, and you start choosing a direction. You point yourself toward a version of you that is stronger, braver, kinder, more grounded, and then you take one small step at a time. You build habits that match your hopes. You listen to your heart more than the noise. You keep your eyes on the kind of life you want to create, not just for today, but for the person you're becoming. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop living by the clock or the calendar. You stop chasing someone else's version of success. And slowly, with each step, you become someone new. Not because you arrived, but because you kept walking. That's what real change looks like. Not a moment, a movement. Not perfection, progress, and not a destination, but a direction worth traveling every single day.